It's draft day. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host Calvin Timms, and I'm excited. It's finally draft day. By the time this video is dropping, I recorded this the night before, but this is my final mock draft for the NFL, and it's kind of a predictive mock. I did have a couple of trades in there of what I think is going to happen. And this one's going to be a little bit off the walls, but I think that you guys, once you see it, you'll be able to kind of track along with me. So it's going to be a fun one, and I want to just jump into it. But before I do that, please follow me on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, FF After Dark for the podcast. And you can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple, anywhere the podcasts are really found. And if you can subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below, tell me how I'm an idiot for these draft picks. But I'm going to go through each and every one of them and give my thought process on why I like them. But I'd love to hear your guys' feedback as well. And I heard that there were some mic issues, so I'm testing this out. Unfortunately, you can't hear it until the next day with the way that we record. So I'm going to see if this fixes it, but I think I might have found the issue. So if I'm still having some mic issues, just let me know. But thank you guys for letting me know, everyone out there who did listen and give me a heads up. So appreciate that from you guys, and I am very excited. Tonight's going to be a blast. I'm going to be recapping round one with a video tomorrow. So like I said, the content is just going to keep on rolling. And for a lot of people, their rookie drafts are kicking off on Sunday or Monday of next week. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I'm going to be able to react to this pretty quickly, in my opinion, and I don't think I'm going to be an overreactionary person. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to freak out, and they're going to wildly swing on players that probably didn't need to, but we're going to have a good time, and we are going to make sure we're picking the right players, not just the consensus popular player that everyone says to draft right now. So that said, let's get into it. Here is my mock draft, and if you saw the thumbnail on YouTube or Rumble, this is, I had a lot of the names blurred out here, but you can see the whole mock draft, and I'm going to go through it pick by pick here and just kind of give my thoughts. So, number one overall, Caleb Williams, not much to talk about. He's like 99.99% unless he kills somebody literally today of the day of draft. He's going to be a Chicago Bear. Even if he kills somebody, I think he might still be a Chicago Bear. That's how invested they are in this kid. So Caleb Williams going to Chicago, good player. Hopefully the savior that Chicago has wanted for a very, very long time. But we will have to see. I believe he can do it, but we've said this about generational talents before, and they don't work out. Number two, Jaden Daniels, quarterback from LSU, goes to the Washington Commanders. This is pretty consensus right now. I think that when you look at the team, they have Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator. They have a new ownership group there, and I think that they're going to want a player that's kind of sparking a lot of interest out there and can kind of be a little bit more fan favorite, and that's where Jaden Daniels comes in, Heisman winner. He just has a lot of momentum on his side right now. I don't necessarily think that Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Drake May, who I have going number 3 overall. But he is the more liked player by a lot of people out there. So I think Jaden Daniels is going to be the number 2 player here. Number 3, the New England Patriots are taking Drake May, quarterback from North Carolina. I know a lot of people are talking about how bad Drake May is. This feels like a giant smokescreen for months and months and months as to if we talk bad about this guy long enough, maybe he'll drop down the board to us. And I think for the Patriots, it's going to happen where Drake May is going to be there. Now, that said, Drake May does have problems. I don't think that he's a perfect candidate. I think he has a few mechanical issues that he's going to need to fix and figure out. And he's going to one of the worst top 5 landing spots that he could possibly go to. This team is in massive trouble. We don't really have a ton of weapons, and we need a lot on the offensive side of the ball just to make him feel comfortable. I do think that they have a decent coaching staff there that they're going to be able to try and patch things together, but it's not going to be great in year one. So it's going to be interesting to see if this actually happens, how this is going to impact fantasy drafts, and I'm kind of already thinking through this process, anticipating this. I would love it as a New England fan, and I put out a video yesterday. Again, apologies for the mic issues. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing that here today. Let me know again one more time. But kind of giving the options for the New England Patriots, and I would be a big fan if they traded back. I just don't think they're going to get somebody to pay that big haul to come and get Drake May, and they're going to have to take him themselves. At 4, the Arizona Cardinals. I know everyone's talking about the Cardinals trading back from this pick, and even the Cardinals themselves said that they would consider it when they're on the clock, but they have so many draft picks, guys. It's not going to happen. You have a air quote generational wide receiver prospect right here. You have a massive need. Their number one wide receiver on this team is either Greg Dortch or Michael Wilson, and it's just, you can't bypass Marvin Harrison Jr. here. Maybe it's Malik Neighbors. I could see these two being flipped, but I think it's going to be Marv. I just think that the name cachet that comes with Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be too hard to pass up, and he's going to be an Arizona Cardinal. At 5, everyone has loved to put wide receiver to the Los Angeles Chargers. Everyone loves to trade them out of this pick, but I don't think they're going to get a buyer again. I don't think that the Vikings are going to try and trade up for the quarterback here. I know that's the popular take, and that's what everybody's saying, but you look at the trades and the mock drafts and how things got crazy before the NFL draft the last couple of years, and a lot of those trades don't pan out. Those quarterbacks don't go as high as everyone wants them to. The trades aren't as crazy and as egregious as everyone wants to. It'd be more fun if they were, but that's just not the world we live in. And I don't think that when you look at the board here, after number 5, you've got the Giants at 6, you've got the Titans, you have originally who's at 8, the Falcons, you have the Bears at 9 who just took a quarterback, and then the Jets at 10. Realistically, if you're going to see a quarterback go before the Vikings at 11, someone would have to trade up with one of those teams because none of them really need one. I know that the Giants are linked to one, but I think it's a giant smokescreen, again, line season, that they want a wide receiver because this offense is just terrible. Darren Waller might be retiring. Their number one wide receiver is Jalen Hyatt or Wan'Dale Robinson. Let me get that out of my mouth there. But yeah, I just think that they need a difference maker, and Malik Neighbors, there was the video of him going around yesterday where he's on IG Live or whatever one of these platforms was, and as soon as they started bringing up the Giants, he instantly stopped the feed. I think it's because he knew he didn't want to get himself in trouble. So yeah, I think Malik Neighbors is going to the Giants at 6, but going back to 5, I don't see them taking a wide receiver. I just don't see them wanting to do that. You go to Greg Roman, you go to Harbaugh. It's built around a solid offensive line. You got Joe Alt, who is a very, very good offensive tackle here, just sitting in your laps. Marvin Harrison just went right before you, and I believe that they're going to try and target wide receiver in round 2 or round 3. One of my favorite landing spots is Roman Wilson to the Chargers. I think that'd be a great landing spot. I like Roman Wilson a lot. You pair that with Quentin Johnson, who I know the dynasty community wants to give up on completely, but I just don't see that happening from a real world perspective. If he sucks again this year, then yeah, you can write him off. But it's new coaching staff. They didn't draft this guy, but they've seen his talent from college. Jim Harbaugh has seen what Quentin Johnson can do because I think he lit up Michigan when they played him. So yeah, I think that he's going to try and unlock him if they can. If they can't, then they'll move on next year. But they're not going to try and rush it when you have the top of the line offensive tackle and a need here. So I think it's going to be Joe Alt. I know everyone's saying, well, he plays left tackle, but it doesn't matter. So did Penei Sewell. And he was considered the top tackle in his class. And look what ultimately happened. The Lions moved him to right tackle, and he's been there ever since. So not unprecedented. And I think that this is going to be the biggest surprise pick in a lot of people's books because a lot of people have been writing them down to wide receiver for the last couple of months. At 7, the Tennessee Titans have been, again, linked to every offensive lineman in the book. I think that they're going to end up taking Brock Bowers. This is going to be the team that takes Brock Bowers. And the reason why is if you look at what they actually did in free agency, they added like 5 offensive linemen, like decent offensive linemen. They do not need to add one. And they have gone all out this offseason to build around Will Levis, to tell you if this is the guy. And as much as I like Chigakonkwo, he is not even in the same realm of possibility as Brock Bowers and talent and what he can do for this offense. You get a guy that can block, so he is a little bit of an offensive lineman there. He's a much more prototypical tight end than Chig is, and I think that he can help in the offensive blocking schemes that way. And then he's also another weapon for Will Levis. So, if Will Levis is not the guy, next year they are going to have a completely loaded offense around whoever they want to get in here and build this team around. So I think this is going to be the team that takes Brock Bowers and surprise a lot of people. Now, this is where it gets fun. No trades in the top 7. Wow, that's crazy. That'll never happen, but it happens every year. People don't want to spend egregious amounts of draft capital to move up into the top 7. But at 8, the Atlanta Falcons originally had this pick. I have the Denver Broncos coming up from number 12 to jump the Chicago Bears for Rome Odunze, because all the rumors are Rome Odunze is going to be playing with Caleb Williams. And you're saying, well, no, wouldn't they jump for J.J. McCarthy? No, I don't think so. They just traded for Zach Wilson. They have, I forget the other guy's name. They have guys that, they're paying Russell Wilson a lot of money to not play for this team this year. This team needs to be bad. The best way to tell if you have anything in their current quarterback room, which is currently Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson, and Ben DiNucci. Not a great group. But when you're paying Russell Wilson a ton of money to not play for the team, you don't really want to invest another pick into a quarterback. And I get it. Like, a lot of people are going to say, oh, but you have to. Don't let PFF rot your brains, guys. The teams do not think about it this way. They got rid of Jerry Jeudy. They have a decent amount of draft capital. And if they're really bad, again, which everyone expects them to be with Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson, they will be a top 5 pick. You don't have to pay a ton to go from 12 to 8 here. I'm anticipating like a second, maybe 2 seconds to make this deal happen, maybe a second and a third. I don't really know. It's not going to cost you a first to move from 12 to 8 for sure. So they're going to go up there. They're going to get Rome Odunze, and they're going to get their wide receiver 1, the guy that is going to pair with Sean Payton, and he's going to build his offense around because they need that guy. This wide receiver core is bad. This offense is bad, and I think that they're going to be a surprise trade-up candidate. You go back to Sean Payton's time with the New Orleans Saints, he was aggressive a lot in the draft. They like to trade up for certain guys, and I believe that Rome Odunze would be one of those guys for Sean Payton. All right, now at 9, Rome Odunze goes right before the Chicago Bears. They end up going I'm going to massacre these names. Olumuwanu Fashanu, however you say it. There's like 15 ways to say it. I'm going to massacre it. I apologize, guys. Fashanu, I know that, his last name. Offensive tackle from Penn State. They're going to take him, and what better to pair your new franchise quarterback, Caleb Williams, with than another offensive lineman. They took a guy last year at 9 overall to, I think it was Paris Johnson Jr. I can't remember which one they took and the Cardinals took. I might be switching their names, but they took a generational, not generational, everyone's generational nowadays, but they took a franchise offensive tackle last year, left tackle. I think that they're going to pair it with Fashanu, who is a very good pass blocking offensive tackle, and they're just going to try and keep Caleb Williams upright. And you build this offensive lineup, they don't really have a ton of holes. I know that Rome Odunze would be a premium pick, like just a unnecessary pick here that would be great for the team for the long term, but building this offensive line and keeping Caleb Williams healthy is going to be more important than just adding another weapon willy-nilly. So I think they're going to add the offensive tackle. I was thinking about the defensive side a little bit here, but I just don't think it made a ton of sense with all the investments that they've done in free agency over the last couple of years. Now, here at 10, another fun pick because the Jets, everyone's been linking them to offensive tackle here. Obviously the Bears just took one right before them, but there's still quite a few guys left on the board here. And when, again, you look at the teams that are between them and the Raiders at 13, there's not really many offensive tackles or offensive linemen in general that are going to go off the board here. So I have them trading back with the Raiders. The Raiders jump in front of the Minnesota Vikings to take J.J. McCarthy. And, I think Minnesota is going to get a little complacent because, again, they're going to look at it as, none of these guys are really going to do it. Nobody's jumping up here. They like their guys. And I think that the GM for the Vikings is a little bit too analytical, and I think he's going to get frozen and he's going to, sit in his spot and not move up. And the Raiders are wild, man. They are going to make that jump, get JJ McCarthy, snipe the Vikings, and that's where it gets really fun for this draft, actually, because if the Vikings don't get JJ McCarthy and they can't trade up, it gets really, really fun. So, JJ McCarthy goes to the Raiders. Decent fit. He gets to play with Gardner, which is two completely different personalities, but would be very interesting to watch. So we'll see what happens there. They don't have to rush J.J. McCarthy out there. They can kind of let him come up to speed in the NFL, and when he's ready, they can put him out there. I think that'd be better for him than just making him the instant starter that a lot of these teams want to do. All right, at 11, the Vikings got sniped for J.J. McCarthy, so they take Terrion Arnold. This defense stinks. It's one of the worst in the NFL right now. I think it's like a bottom 5 defense. And in terms of just talent, they got it together a little bit at the end of last year, but I think it was more Brian Flores was just creative as hell in what he was doing, and it wasn't necessarily the talent. This gives them, in my opinion, one of the best cornerbacks in this draft class, and it's right in front of the Falcons, who kind of jumped up or jumped back and definitely need a cornerback. If the Falcons were there at 8, I would have given them Terrion Arnold. I think that just having 2 lockdown corners would be amazing for the Falcons. But alas, Minnesota takes him 1 spot ahead of the Falcons, who had already traded back once. All right, at 12, the Falcons, they traded back with the Denver Broncos, who went up to get Rome Odunze. I think that they take Dallas Turner, a lot of people's number 1 edge. It kind of depends on your preference here. Dallas Turner, it might be someone like, you look at the next couple of edges, Jared Verse, you look at Latu. It could be any of these 3 guys. I kind of am just taking a personal preference on this. I like Dallas Turner a little bit more, and I think that he would fit this new coaching staff a little bit better. But, if it was one of the other 2, I would not be shocked either. So I just think it's going to be a defensive player. I just don't know which one. You have a new defensive head coach, a very loaded already offense. They've spent the last 3 or 4 years drafting offensive players in the first round. So perfect time to rebuild the defensive side of the ball here. At 13, the Jets traded back with the Las Vegas Raiders, who went up to 10 to get J.J. McCarthy and snipe the Minnesota Vikings. They take offensive tackle J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama. This name has been rising a lot lately, and again, you look at the other names on the board, Talisi Fuaga, you have Fatanu, Troy Fatanu, I'm trying to say that right. You've got Amarius Mims, Graham Barton. There's a lot of players that are on the board tackle-wise, but I think J.C. Latham has just had the late draft buzz that is going to really vault him up and make him the pick here by the Jets. There's talks about him going 5 overall to the Chargers, so I don't, anyone that says that this is completely crazy, I don't think it's, I think it's a little contained, actually. So let me know down below in the comments, though, for sure. All right, 14, the New Orleans Saints get a fellow Louisianian. How do you guys say that down there? I have no idea. Louisiana native, Brian Thomas Jr. They get to pair him with Chris Olave. Michael Thomas is not even close to anything. I don't think he'll ever be what Michael Thomas once was. And you look at this skill core, and they really need a couple of extra weapons. And you have Brian Thomas Jr. here, who is local, I think that it's going to be a great pairing there. They don't really have to move up, and they have needs. They have needs all over the board. It's the Saints, man. But you look at Chris Olave, who is still young. You got him on a rookie contract. You could pair him with Brian Thomas Jr. and give Derek Carr no excuses to not perform this upcoming season, and you get a good player to pair with him as well. That'll be very interesting how that impacts Dynasty if that ends up happening. If I'm an oracle here and predict this, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens here. Because Chris Olave is a top 10 Dynasty pick, so Dynasty wide receiver. So will that impact his draft stock or not? I don't know, but we'll see after the draft if this ends up happening. All right, 15, Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. Basically, when I was looking at the Colts, I looked at a need and then I looked at their RAS scores. And for anyone that is unaware, RAS is relative athletic score. And the higher that number is out of 10, like Anthony Richardson was a 10 out of 10 last year. He is the most athletic quarterback that has ever tested at the combine and at pro days and all that stuff. The Colts for years now have just valued athletes. If you are a very, very good athlete, they will draft you, essentially, is how it kind of plays out. Quinyon Mitchell is the most athletic cornerback here, and it's a need as well, so I thought it just made too much sense. He had a higher RAS score than a lot of the other defensive players that were going in this range anyway, so, just made sense with the Colts. So, yeah, I'd love to see the Colts actually make a trade for someone like, they get aggressive and they try and trade up, but it's just, unfortunately, that's just Chris Ballard. You know what you're going to get from him every single year, and it's just kind of vanilla, right? It's boring. It's exciting at all. So I think Quinyon Mitchell, he's a good player. It's a good fit, but expecting Chris Ballard to be aggressive is just, it's a fool's errand, right? So that's my thoughts on the Colts here. All right, at 16, end of the first half of the first round, I have the Seahawks taking Byron Murphy Jr., Byron Murphy II, defensive tackle out of Texas. This name is another one that's been rising a lot the last couple of weeks. And I think Byron Murphy is someone that a lot of people would love to try and get, and it's a big need for the team. You have a new defensive-minded head coach, a great player that's been rising up draft boards. It's just a match made in heaven, in my opinion. Now, you could say they need Jared Verse, but I think they've invested pretty heavily on the edge the last couple of years. I can't remember their entire roster on the defensive side of the ball off the top of my head, but I believe they've invested in it pretty heavily over the last couple of years. So this makes a lot of sense to go and get Byron Murphy here to pair with your new head coach. 17. Now, this one is going to be interesting because a lot of rumors are, and I cannot predict this. I have already said, I put out a video earlier this week that Brandon Ayuk would not get traded, but there's been a lot of rumors that the Jaguars are willing to trade the 17 overall pick for Brandon Ayuk. I think that's a mistake. I don't think that Brandon Ayuk will save this team, and you're paying him a ton of money. But Jaguars do Jaguar things, man. They do dumb things all the time. The other dumb thing I think they would do is draft Xavier Worthy here, wide receiver from Texas, who is the fastest man alive in terms of combine speed. And Xavier Worthy, I think that when you look at him, you have to remember that Doug Peterson did coach what's his name? The super fast guy, Deshaun Jackson. He was with the Eagles for a couple of years there, and you look at Xavier Worthy, he is extremely fast, and his comparables are Deshaun Jackson, but Deshaun Jackson played a little bit more of a grown man's game, I'll put it that way. He played a little bit stronger than Xavier Worthy, but I could see the Jags really overreacting to the speed score and taking him there. So I don't know why, just a gut feeling that he's going to be overdrafted and the Jags are the team to do it. 18, Talisi Fuaga, the offensive tackle out of Oregon State, goes to the Bengals. Again, they've been trying to keep Joe Burrow alive the last couple of years. Again, it's just a perfect, all these rumors about people trading up for offensive tackles. I just don't see it. I I don't see teams being that willing to move up for these guys, especially you look at it every single year and the tackles and the offensive linemen just fall down the board because everyone says, oh, well, we can get these guys a little bit later. And look at these other players that we could have. So every single year, these guys fall down the board. I mean, he's what, the offensive tackle number 4 here. So it's a very loaded offensive tackle class in the first round. So I have quite a few guys going. You'll see that as we continue to go through here. But yeah, I just think that it's not many teams when you have potentially 7 offensive line tackles, just tackles going in the first round. It's going to be hard to predict people to jump up for these guys. So Fuaga falling to the Bengals at 18, I don't think is completely crazy. They get another guy to protect Joe Burrow, and I think it's a great pairing to just try and keep him upright and keep him alive again. 19, this one might be a little bit out of nowhere. Again, who knows? But it's hard to say what the Rams are going to do with the first round pick. This will be Sean McVay's first ever first round pick for the LA Rams. He has never had a first round pick. When he came in, they had sent all their first rounders for Jared Goff back in the day, and they have continued to roll that train of F them picks, as he says, and just continue to punt the picks into the sun for good players, obviously, which has helped them to win a Super Bowl a couple years ago. But we have no idea what he's going to do with first rounder. And I was looking at the board, and realistically, I felt like Michael Penix Jr. was the best selection here. You look at Matt Stafford, and there's been rumors about him retiring for a couple years now, and he gets banged up a lot. He's older. He's kind of in the golden years of the NFL quarterback lifespan. Michael Penix Jr. has done himself a lot of favors these last couple of weeks with his draft stock. I've heard a lot of news that his team that he's assembled around him, his draft team, has done a very good job going out to teams and promoting him. His pro day helped that a lot. And, again, it's just he's a pocket passer. He's not the most mobile guy, and you don't have to play right away. You get to, let him kind of come up to speed in the NFL level behind Matt Stafford, but they don't really have anybody behind Matt Stafford as it is. So you get your quarterback 2, who also happens to be a rookie and potentially your future. I don't think Sean McVay will care that he's a little bit older. He's probably the best pure passer in this draft class, but a little bit of an injury concern, and he's a little bit older. Not the biggest red flags in my opinion, personally. So Michael Penix Jr. going to the Rams at 19 feels a little bit out of the wall, but out of nowhere. But I think that, again, I don't think these quarterbacks are going to go as highly. People are saying 6 in the top half of the draft of the first round. It's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen. If you get 6 in the first round, I would be shocked. I have 6 here. I don't even feel 100% confident about it because, we'll talk about it when I get to 32 here. But yeah, I think that Michael Penix at 19 is not a completely crazy idea. 20, Jared Verse. This is just best player available. You look at TJ Watt. He hasn't been able to stay on the field completely the last couple of years. And on the flip side, they need another guy opposite of him anyway to take some of that pressure off of Watt as it could be. Again, you look at the defensive rankings, and some people have Verse as their number 1. Some people have Turner. Some people have Laiatu. I think Verse is just the best player available approach here, and they're going to pounce on that to really make sure that this defense is up and running this upcoming season. So 21, Miami Dolphins. This one is just again, best player available at a position of need as well. Troy Fautanu, offensive tackle out of Washington. You need to keep Tua healthy. You need to keep this offense rolling. It's a position of need. Just perfect landing spot opportunity. Match made in heaven here. So not too much to say there. Now, again, maybe it's not Fautanu here. Maybe it's Fuaga. Maybe the Bengals take Fautanu and these guys take Fuaga. Whatever it may be. Maybe J.C. Latham doesn't go at 13 and he's here, available here. I don't know. It's just more the positional at this point, but I'm kind of going through the name value as well. 22, the Eagles. Laiatu Latu, again, a position of need. The Eagles need to get younger on the defensive side of the ball. They've been investing in these older guys the last couple of years, and this is just a perfect opportunity for them to go and get a young stud player. Again, potentially the number one edge. People will say, oh, the Eagles did it again. They won the draft again. They got the best edge player on the board at 22. How do they can't keep getting away with this. They can't keep getting away with this. But in reality, I don't know if it's amazing value or not, but they don't have to move up, and I don't think that they're going to get super aggressive in this upcoming draft. 23 was originally the Minnesota Vikings. I think that with the way that the board has fallen, if it's anything close to this on the actual draft night, they get sniped for J.J. McCarthy. Michael Penix Jr. goes ahead of them. I do not think that they're going to be the team that takes Bo Nix at 23 overall. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I had the Cardinals trading back into the first round. From their second round pick. They keep 27. Now, realistically, they could go from 27 to 23 and then trade that one in a different trade, but I just made it easier here. I sent I think they have 35, if I remember, 34, 35. Sent 35 and next year's second and maybe a fifth round or whatever it may be to the Vikings. Again, very analytical GM over there. I think that they would take that as long as the value is good enough and you're not moving back too far out of the first round. They would snap on it. The Cardinals come up to take an offensive tackle. Just you have a lot of draft capital and a lot of draft picks. Might as well use that to move up and get a few more premier players before the drop off really starts to happen in round 2 and round 3. Dallas Cowboys at 24. I was thinking a lot about this. I was thinking about giving them Adonai Mitchell, but I think that they're ultimately going to go on the offensive line and try and keep this offense moving. Again, similar to who I was talking about before with the Bears, for example. You just got to keep these guys upright and keep this offense on the field. It's a position of need. Their offensive line has been banged up like crazy the last couple of years. So it just gives them a potential superstar for the future, and it's a position of need. And it feels like a very Jerry Jones type of pick. So not flashy, but at the same time, Adonai Mitchell also feels like a Jerry Jones pick. So maybe this is crazy, but we'll see on draft night here tonight. All right, 25. Predicting what the Green Bay Packers is going to do is impossible, but I gave him Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. I think Nate Wiggins is a very good cornerback, and he's fallen pretty far down the board. So, yeah, good luck trying to convince me on anything that the Packers are going to do. I could see them taking literally almost any position in this draft. I have no idea. 26, I have the New England Patriots trading back into the first round from 35, 36, whatever their first rounder is, to get Adonai Mitchell. You take Drake May at 3 overall. I talked about it already. The offense for this team is atrocious. It's terrible. We need as many weapons as we can get. Adonai Mitchell has been rising up people's boards like crazy. And when you look at who's left on the board here, you've got, Ladd McConkey, Roman Wilson. There's a lot. Keon Coleman, for example, Xavier Legette. There's a lot of guys that are still kind of on the board here. Adonai Mitchell is the one that's gotten a lot of potential hype around them, and you pair him with your quarterback of the future. And the reason why I had him trading up here is in 2 picks, you got the Buffalo Bills, their divisional rivals. I don't think that the Cardinals, if the Cardinals trade up to 23 to take Amarius Mims, either they're using 27, at which point, maybe the Patriots could trade with the Minnesota Vikings or whoever it could be to move up into 27. But with this one, the Cardinals had 23 and 27. I just don't see them moving back from 27 after they've already gone up to 23 with a second rounder. So, trying to predict a few teams that are going to be coming up from the second to get guys at the end of the first here. But you get to jump in front of your divisional rivals who need a wide receiver, who just got rid of Stephon Diggs. So you get to snipe them there. The Detroit Lions are a sneaky landing spot for a wide receiver, in my opinion. This is the last year for Jameson Williams to figure it out if he's going to be something or not. You get the Baltimore Ravens, potentially the Niners if they move on from Brandon Ayuk. I would love for the Patriots to just send a pick for Brandon Ayuk personally. Pay him whatever you want to pay him, like pay him $1 billion. I don't care. Get Brandon Ayuk on the Patriots. He would be a superstar. But if I can't predict that kind of trade, so assuming that the Patriots don't have the cojones to make that kind of trade happen, they're coming up here to get Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. All right, we're almost done here, guys. We'll be wrapping it up here shortly. Got a couple more picks left, 6 more picks. 27, I have the Cardinals taking the third first-round player in this draft, and that's going to be Johnny Newton. They went Marvin Harrison Jr., they went offensive tackle, Marius Mims. Now they're getting their defensive player to stop that defensive line, build that up a little bit more as well. Johnny Newton's a very good player. I think he's ranked on most big boards around like 20, so it's a little bit of a value on him here, but just a need meets value, so nothing crazy there. Big run on defensive players here. I think the Buffalo Bills losing out on Adonai Mitchell. I don't think that they're going to be overreactionary and overreach on a wide receiver. Again, you look at Keon Coleman, you look at Ladd McConkey, you look at some of these other guys. I don't think they're necessarily first round values. Maybe Keon Coleman could go here, and that's who I was kind of contemplating over Chop Robinson, but I think Chop Robinson was a massive discount. Again, very good player, defensive-minded head coach. Their defense has kind of gotten just completely decimated by injuries the last couple of years. So I think that he's going to want to try and build on that side of the ball and try and be aggressive in round 2 to go and get like a Ladd or whoever it may be to fill that hole in the offensive side of the ball. So I think that they're going to feel comfortable enough with Josh Allen and whoever is wide receiver, kind of similar to what the Chiefs have been doing the last couple of years, but they're not going to get aggressive with it, and they're just going to take the best defensive player here in Chop Robinson. Now the Lions at 29, again, I think they're a sneaky one, but after Adonai Mitchell goes here, with Xavier Worthy already gone, again, I don't see Keon Coleman as a first round type of guy. And you got Kool-Aid McKinstry here. Big need at cornerback for this team. They need to be able to shut down some people on the defensive side a little bit more, and they've been getting a lot better the last couple of years. But again, just perfect need for an opportunity kind of meet. So Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama, goes to the Detroit Lions. Sorry, it's getting a little bit late, so I'm getting a little bit tired here. But Detroit Lions at 29 here. 30, Cooper DeJean, safety out of Iowa, and you're saying Baltimore Ravens taking a safety? They already have a really good one that they took a couple years ago, and I think they're going to want to just try and lock down the defensive side of the ball. They just extended Rashad Bateman here today, so I know people are saying they need a wide receiver, but I don't think they do. They've got Zay Flowers. They do believe in Rashad Bateman. You've got Mark Andrews. You bring in King Henry. Their offensive side of the ball is looking really good. So you look at the defensive side, they've made a lot of investments in the defensive side the last couple of years, and I could see them just trying to shore up the secondary and getting Cooper DeJean, who is a good player, very, very good player here, and I feel like would be a very good hardball guy in this defense. 31, Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle. Big need for the Niners right now is a tackle, right tackle specifically, and this is somebody that would be able to come in and fill that hole pretty immediately. So I think it'd be again a match made in heaven here. And then 32, have the Minnesota Vikings trading back into 32 with the Kansas City Chiefs for Bo Nix, quarterback out of Oregon. I don't think that they can trust that he's going to make it to them when they traded back with the Cardinals to 35. There's always the chance that the Giants could jump up ahead of them and take him with, the first pick in the second round if they really wanted to be aggressive there and try and just take Bo Nix for the future. I don't really see that happening personally, but, you get the fifth-year option on Bo Nix. You take him with the last pick. Again, it's analytical approach to this, in my opinion. And it gives you your 6th quarterback in the first round, kind of a record break there. But I like Bo Nix a lot more than people out there. But you get to let him come in instantly and compete with Sam Darnold. Get the 5th-year option on him. And I think it's a great, consolation prize when you were not able to get J.J. McCarthy. It's entirely possible that Bo Nix is better than J.J. McCarthy this entire year. So don't completely write that off. But I think it's the capper to the first round. Someone's going to get aggressive and try and get their quarterback for the future here. So again, I said it gets really interesting if the Minnesota Vikings don't get J.J. McCarthy, if they're not able to trade up in the top 7 to go and get their quarterback. This is kind of what you'd be expecting. So we'll see tonight what actually happens, but I don't think they're going to be as aggressive as people think that they may be. So, all right, that said, thank you guys again for joining me. I waited to the end. Hopefully there's no more trades or anything that happens while this is dropping here on Thursday morning, but you never know. Pre-draft trades are always fun. But yeah, I'm going to be excited. Tonight's going to be a good night with the draft. So make sure you guys hit me up on Twitter and let me know your guys' favorite picks, or comment it down below in the actual draft, who your team is and who you want them to take. But it'll be a good time. And again, if you have any questions on your rookie drafts, hit me up on Twitter at TDC_Calvin. You can hit up the podcast at FF After Dark. You can tweet either one. We'll get to them either way. Or you can comment on the video down below. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It just helps us with the algorithm, and we appreciate you guys. I'll have a recap video tomorrow of the first round from a dynasty perspective, so make sure you guys come back and check that out. But this has been a fun one, so thank you guys so much for joining me, and until next time, have a good night.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?